Yo, how's it going everybody? You got Sketch here and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're looking at a Mega Drive shoot 'em up that up until recently never got a Western release and was also regarded as one of the system's rarest cartridges to track down. Today we're checking out Eliminate Down, developed by Aprinet and published by Soft Vision Incorporated, released in the Japanese Mega Drive in 1993. Retrobit would acquire the publishing rights and reissue Eliminate Down in 2024. This is a game that I'd always wanted to play since starting a Genesis collection again, and after all this time, let's see how it stacks up in the pantheon of shoot 'em ups for the console. In the 30th century, man has begun exploring space and encounters an alien race known as the Amuleto. They start traveling closer to Earth, and they intend to invoke a hostile takeover with their growing space fleet. A lone fighter known as the Steel Pyron hits the warp drive in an attempt to single-handedly save the galaxy. Gameplay-wise, you've got a horizontal 2D shoot-'em-up that spans 8 stages of interstellar warfare. This has a similar feel to the Thunder Force games where you can cycle through your weapons on the fly and you can adjust your flight speed by hitting pause and setting it however you wish. You have 3 weapons being your Vulcan cannon, rear cannons, and missile barrage that can all be upgraded to level 3. Keeping your weapons powered up will be crucial here by the time you get into the back end of the game, because by that point, the game will be an uphill climb if you're underpowered. You also get barriers that let you take a few more hits, and primary weapon upgrades in addition to your sub-weapons. Eliminate Down is also a shoot 'em up that relies on memorization since there are tons of traps, and the moment you get snared by them will quickly have you seeing a game over. You get several stocks, and when they're gone, it's game over and back to the beginning of the stage. You'll have 9 continues where you can start at the beginning of the stage you last attempted, but when those are gone, it's game over and you must start from stage 1. There's also a situation where one hit will take a stock and a power level from you, but you do respawn right away. Enemies will swarm in formation with major enemies that will take a few hits to down. Pods will fly through with upgrades to level your craft, but getting hit will drop you down a whole power level. I can't stress enough how important memorizing the stages is, and staying at full power will be considering how much more difficult of a time you'll have at base power level. This is a game where you certainly feel the advantage of having full power, but you feel the disadvantage even more when you're at low power. The first couple stages start off kinda spicy, but still somewhat ease you into the game. But by stage 4, this game is done playing with you and will smoke you expeditiously if you're not picking up on the gameplay hints it's dropping along the way. I've heard this and Gaiaris come up numerous times as some of the more difficult horizontal shooters on the Genesis and Mega Drive, and that is not much of an exaggeration. The back half of the game especially gets buck, as you must memorize all the hazards that are ahead, and also memorize the enemy and boss patterns, as they will often crush you if you're not in the right place or dodge at the right time. Round 5 is a straight up gauntlet of shit that you will not be ready for until you get smoked by it a few dozen times, much like the following stages thereafter. Stage 6 through 8 gets real gnarly, especially stage 7 where you have to memorize gate patterns and a sub-boss chase that will serve you that work the moment you drop your guard. Bosses will start off pretty straightforward, but the further you get, the crazier these battles will become, with bosses being really aggressive and at first unpredictable. One thing here is that once you memorize their attack patterns, you'll be better prepared for them in battle. The final boss has a countdown as you fight, and besides adding some urgency to the encounter, getting those patterns down is the way to victory on top of being as powered up as you can possibly be. Graphics wise, Eliminate Down is a tour de force as far as horizontal shooters on the Genesis. The backgrounds are varied, and there's progressively more parallax scrolling that is vertical and horizontal. The static background images also change a lot as you move through each stage, and these are possibly some of the best space levels on the Genesis, hands down. Stage 7 and 8 are absolutely insane with the amount happening on those stages, as you dodge walls of fire and hit hyperspace for the final battle, all without any slowdown, which is pretty impressive. The points where you warp jump into the back half of the game look stunning here, and are on the level of Technos off with Thunder Force 3 and 4. While those are a notch above what's seen here, the fact that it comes in a close second to some of the best visuals for shoot 'em ups on the Genesis speaks volumes about their programming development. Battling the waves of enemies shows a variety of enemy types that don't overlap much during the game's 8-stage run. You get a gamut of adds and major enemies before getting to each stage's boss that are often huge, at times filling the screen to where you have to navigate around them. Enemy arenas also switch on the fly, going through space, underwater, and eventually the inner workings of their industrial tech. Stage designs are top notch, and the enemies that populate them are visually striking while keeping you on your guard to defeat them. Enemy bullets compared to your own are fairly easy to distinguish, but there are times where you can't see what's happening because of the foreground elements, like in stage 1 where your view is obstructed a bit. You'll learn to work around such things, but there are moments where visibility does get hindered, hiding enemies and at times their projectiles. The boss designs are sick here, with a mixture of biomechanical enemies and cybernoids that are often huge. This is another area where the comparison to Gaiaris and the Thunder Force games comes in with the boss designs, since these are all games that straight up send it with the boss characters. Bosses are massive crafts that you'll need to defeat in sections, like in stage 2 and 7 for example, and the rest of the bosses will be medium to large ops that will rush you down and dart around the screen hoping to catch you in their path. The encounters, on top of having often aggressive enemies, will be their fire patterns that will use a lot of geometry designed to take down your craft. Sound-wise, Eliminate Down is cooking with some awesome tunes as you smoke the Amuletto Empire. Composer Tatsuya Matsumoto lays down a soundtrack with nothing but bangers as you move through the game's 8 challenging stages with tunes that match the atmosphere of each level. What's sick here is that the tunes change depending on what part of the stage you're in. Stage 1 is a good example where the music changes up just about every section. The tunes are a cross between the more heavy metal inspired tracks when the action is hectic to the more atmospheric horror themed scores like in stage 4 and 6. When the energy is hype, the music is going, and when the vibe shifts to those moments of dread and uncertainty, the game's music matches those instances very well. The boss themes also slap here with some big instrumentation and some tasty riffs as you battle each boss leading to the final encounter, which also slaps. In-game audio is also solid with some nice explosions from large and small enemies, and the gunfire sounds between each weapons are nice and crunchy, especially once you level them up. The sound of getting extra life is also heard in a lot of Atari ports and conversions for the Genesis, like Road Blasters for example, so those with a keen ear might hear and recognize some sound effects that are used in earlier Genesis releases. My only complaint about the audio is that there are times where there isn't much feedback from when shots are connecting besides the visual flash. This is where Technosoft excels with its audio design by comparison, since the feedback is unmistakable there. It's a small gripe, however, on what's otherwise an awesome bit of sound work all around. Eliminate Down is without a doubt one of the shoot 'em ups for the Genesis and Mega Drive that fans of the genre should absolutely play. While it is very challenging at points, it is also one of the best on the system. It's a wonder why this didn't get an international release back when it was new, but the reissue gives players another chance to get a copy of this without breaking the bank for an original Japanese copy. While there are a couple of small things that does hold this back from being perfect, it's pretty close with its tight gameplay and is rewarding when you figure out those sections that were giving you trouble. This is one that players of any skill level can cut their teeth on, but it's going to make you work for those clears, and getting 1cc and flawless clears are going to take practice and truly learning the run inside and out. Despite the learning curve, it's a very fun and well-crafted experience since the game does so much visually without skipping a beat or letting up on the action. Eliminate Down gets an 8.5 out of 10 and comes highly recommended to horizontal shoot 'em up fans and fans of challenging action-adventure games that will require a bit of memorization in addition to sharp reflexes. This is regarded as one of the best on the system, and after years of wanting to try it, it is certainly worth the wait and lives up to the expectation. If you're looking for a physical copy of the original Japanese import, those can go for around $550 for loose cartridges and an astounding $1,400 for complete copies. The Retrobit reissue is much more reasonable at $40 for loose carts and about $115 for complete copies, though if your local game shop ordered these when they were released, they can be found for cheaper. Otherwise, for shoot 'em up fans, play this one however you can if you're curious. And I thank you so much if you made it this far into the video, and if you find these videos helpful, that's awesome. I'm glad you use it as a resource. Check back often, we'll have more reviews and commentaries come up in the near future. But until then, take it easy and stay safe out there. I'll see you on the next one.